At my son's wedding, they served me the last cold leftovers. He laughed and told his wife, "She's used to eating what's left of life." Everyone laughed. No one noticed me leave. But the next morning, his hands trembled when he read my letter. And before we continue, please tell us what country you're from and how old you are. We love getting to know our audience. Enjoy the story. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday. A neat white envelope with a gold trim. I immediately thought it was something official, from the tax office or maybe the bank again. But when I opened it, inside was a heavy cardstock invitation, with shiny print and ornate text. Arthur and Laura invite you to the solemn ceremony of their marriage. June 15th. The Birchwood Country Club. I reread it twice slowly. On the third read I understood. This was my son's wedding, and I was finding out about it from an invitation. No phone call, no visit, not even a text message. Just a piece of paper, as if I weren't his mother, but some distant relative invited out of obligation. I placed the invitation on the kitchen table, next to the long overdue bills, and sat for a long time. I didn't cry. I just stared into space until my tea grew cold. Arthur is 28. He works at an IT company, lives in a downtown studio apartment that costs more to rent than I earn in 6 months. I had seen Laura only twice. Once at his birthday, when she arrived without a gift but with an expression as if she had accidentally walked into a building beneath her station. The second time was at Christmas, when she silently inspected my one-bedroom apartment, trying not to lean against the walls. I had served dinner on simple dishes, covered the table with an oilcloth, and made tea in a teapot. She didn't even touch the pie, just said, "It's cozy in its own way." I'm no fool. I know what words like that mean. A wedding in June at a resort where ordinary people can't even book rooms, only club members or by special recommendation. It was clear from the location that everything would be lavish. People in designer suits, cars with alloy wheels, women with identically shaped lips. I knew I had no place there, but I still wanted to be there. I wanted my son to see that I was by his side in some small way. I called him in the evening. He answered immediately, his voice as if he were talking in the background while typing something on his laptop. "Hi, Mom. Did you get it?" Yes. Congratulations. I'm very happy for you. Laura is a beautiful girl." "Yeah, thanks. Listen, can I help somehow? Maybe with the organization, with the menu, the colors? I've saved a little money." "Mom," his voice became harsher. "No need. Everything is already paid for. Laura's parents are handling everything. Don't worry. I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about participating. The dance, the cake, the flowers. Everything is chosen. Everything is decided. Just come. Wear something nice but not too much, you know? Laura's family is traditional, without all that provincial stuff." "Without me, you mean?" "That's not what I meant. I have to go, Laura's making dinner. Bye." He hung up. I didn't even have time to finish. I was left in silence. The TV didn't work. I had canceled the cable to save money. The refrigerator hummed. I sat and stared into space. At the bottom, under the gold letters, was a note. Dress code. Evening black tie optional. I had nothing evening. My dresses were dark blue, simple outfits that I had been wearing for 5 years. The most decent one was what I wore to his graduation. And then I decided no matter what, I would come looking so that he wouldn't be ashamed of me. Even if he didn't ask, even if he didn't expect it. I was still his mother. For 3 months I saved everything I could. I gave up meat, walked to the office, sold old books online, took the TV off the wall mount and sold it. In May I found a dress. Emerald green, simple, without sequins, but it fit perfectly. Elegant, made of expensive, thick material. I bought gray beige shoes with a sturdy heel on an installment plan. Then I went to a salon. The hairdresser carefully refreshed my gray hair, gave it a light styling. I looked in the mirror and for the first time in a long time I thought, I'm no worse than the others. I'm just from a different world. But I am a woman. On the wedding day, I woke up at 6 in the morning, made myself coffee, and set the alarm on repeat just so I wouldn't be late. The dress hung on a hanger like a symbol. I put it on carefully with a bated breath. In the mirror, a stranger looked back at me. Clean proud. Not young but real. I got ready, took my handbag and left. The bus ride to the resort was long. Dust heat. I arrived early and immediately understood. I didn't fit in. Everything here was not about me. Shiny cars, bottles of champagne that cost my rent, smiles rehearsed for photos, and my son at the entrance. A tuxedo, a confident posture, laughing with his future father-in-law. I approached. He saw me and his smile faltered for a second. Mom, you came. I came. I adjusted his tie like I did when he was a child going to school. He pulled away slightly. You look okay. A long pause, but he said exactly that. Okay. Next to him stood Victor, Laura's father. He held out his hand. Catherine, a pleasure. Arthur has mentioned you. Yes, I'm his mother. I work in insurance, a regular operator. Today, I'm just the mother of the groom. He nodded and turned back to his conversation with his friends. I was once again next to them but invisible. The banquet hall was spacious and bright. White tablecloths, crystal chandeliers, waiters and gloves. Everything was perfect, everything was expensive, and everything was not about me. I went to the seating chart, found the card with my name. Table number 7, right by the wall, directly opposite the doors through which the plates were carried out. The other tables were closer to the center, to Arthur, to Laura. Table number 1, Laura's parents and their friends. Table number 2, Arthur's friends from college with their wives. Table number 3, Laura's colleagues. And so on in descending order. I was at the end. At my table sat an elderly woman with a hearing aid, a couple in uncomfortable jackets, and a woman who, as it turned out later, was Laura's second cousin. She was the first to speak. You're Arthur's mother? I'm Margaret. Can I sit with you? It's a bit too fancy here, not my style. I nodded. I felt a little better. At least someone not from this glossy world. You must be so proud of your son. Of course. He did it all himself, achieved everything. This is his day. I tried to smile. Everything seemed right. The banquet, the music, the decor. But inside, it felt like a hunched-over little girl who had been invited to a party but not to the table. While the guests were congratulating the newlyweds, Arthur went around the tables, approaching each one, joking, hugging, laughing, nodding, thanking. I sat and waited. He approached everyone except me. I told myself, he'll save me for last. He's just busy. He's shy. After all, I'm his mother. It will be a special moment. But time passed, the music got louder, the guests got merrier, and I just sat and waited. And at some point I realized he wasn't coming. The waiters started bringing out the food. First table number 1, then the second, the third, the fourth. At our table, silence. Empty plates. I tried to keep a straight face. Finally, a young waiter approached our table, clearly nervous. I'm sorry, there was a mix-up in the kitchen. The food is being prepared now. Just a little longer, and everything will be ready. 20 minutes passed, then 30. People at the other tables were eating, laughing, raising their glasses. Arthur sat next to Laura, whispering something in her ear. She was laughing, looking at him. Finally, the food was brought. They placed a plate in front of me. The salmon was cold, the asparagus limp, the potatoes pale with a film of grease. It was leftovers. The real thing. This is outrageous, Margaret whispered, looking at her own, also cold portion. It's fine, I said quietly and picked up my fork. I was used to this. Used to being last, used to eating what was left, used to not complaining. But then I heard his voice. He was talking to Laura, but not in a whisper. Loudly. The tables nearby clearly heard. Look, it seems they finally brought her something. And then with a smirk, she's used to eating what's left of life. She's fine with it. Laura laughed, a light musical laugh. Others joined in, their friends, their wives. Someone covered their mouth with their hand but giggled. Their laughter spread through the hall like ripples on water. I put down my fork. I wasn't trembling. I didn't even look in his direction. I just listened. And then I said quietly, it turns out I don't eat leftovers. I just live on them. Margaret looked at me in shock. He's serious? Apparently, yes. Then he stood up from his chair and began to give an official speech. He thanked Laura's parents, he thanked her friends, he thanked the organizers, the waiters, even the DJ. Me? Not a word. I looked at him, at my son. He was smiling, speaking confidently, smoothly. He was happy. And in his happiness there was no place for me. When the hall applauded, I understood. Something inside me had switched off. Not broken, not shattered. Just gone. Softly, like a light bulb that had burned out but was no longer flickering. Then there were the dances. The first dance, the dance with the bride's father. The bride's dance with her mother. I waited. I believed. I had even rehearsed at home. I had even chosen a song. He didn't come over. He didn't even look in my direction. I sat with an empty plate, in the dress I had chosen with such hope, in the shoes that were rubbing my heels, with the beautiful hair that I had styled so that he would be proud. And then I understood. It wasn't anger, it wasn't resentment. It was an inner silence. When you no longer expect anything. Are you okay? Margaret asked. I'm perfectly fine, I said calmly. And it was the truth. I stood up, carefully adjusted my dress, went to the coat check, got my handbag and left. No one noticed. No one stopped me. Not even him. And so I stood at the entrance. Behind me the noise, the music, the joy. In front of me the evening, the damp air, the loneliness. But I wasn't in pain. Catherine. Margaret had caught up with me. Are you leaving? I'm leaving. Without even saying goodbye? He won't notice. I turned, looked through the glass. He was standing at the bar, laughing with his friends. Free, cheerful, light. Without me. It's all right, I said quietly. I'm sorry for how he was with you. That was the real thing. Everything has fallen into place. I walked to the bus stop. Without music, without calls. In my head only one thought. Tonight I will write a letter. Not to him but to myself. The most important letter of my life. It was quiet at home. I took off the dress carefully, as if taking off something that belonged to someone else, and hung it in the closet. In the kitchen, cold tea, a lamp on. I sat at the table, opened my laptop and opened a single window. A new email. The recipient, Arthur. At first there were no words, only silence. And then, as if from the depths, it came. Arthur, I am not writing to you in resentment or in anger. I am writing in understanding. Thank you for setting everything straight at your wedding. Not with hints, not with halftones, but directly, honestly. You made it clear to me where my place is. You said that I am used to eating the leftovers of life, and you are right. I am indeed used to leftovers. The leftovers of your attention, the leftovers of your time, the leftovers of your gratitude if you happen to remember. The leftovers of a love that you learned to dispense in doses, so as not to offend anyone, but also not to let anyone get too close. You always knew I was there. I would endure. I would understand. I would forgive. You never thought that I could leave. But I am leaving. Not with hysterics, not with a scandal, but forever and calmly. From this day on, I am stopping all support. The $500 you received in your account was not an inheritance. It was my overtime, my savings, my untaken pills, my unbought shoes. I am closing the insurance where you were listed as a beneficiary. I am canceling the credit card that you used in emergencies, including your vacation in Turkey and the wedding flowers. And most importantly, I am selling the house. The very one you already considered yours. You thought I would leave it to you by right of birth. But to be born a son does not mean to be a person to whom one can entrust memory, walls, and pain. This house is mine. I preserved it. I spent sleepless nights in it when you were sick. I met every new year alone in it after my divorce. I washed it, repaired it, maintained it. Now I will sell it because I want to live, not to wait. You often asked why I never remarried after your father. 'Cause I was busy. I was building your life. The price for that was that I forgot about my own. I thought if I gave you everything, you would love me not for my role but as a person. I was wrong. You got used to receiving and not noticing. You got used to the fact that mom is a background, a wall, a back that holds everything up. Now that back is no longer there. This is not a threat. This is not manipulation. This is information. You are a grown man. You are married. You have a family status, a career. Now your life is entirely yours with its bills, its rents, its needs. And I am now my own. With my trips, my breakfasts on the veranda, my books, my silence in which there is no pain. You will remain my son by blood. But I will no longer be your bank, your shoulder to cry on, your shadow, your background. Mom. Or rather, Catherine. I reread the letter 3 times. No screaming, no complaints, no request to call back. Just the truth unvarnished. At 3:42 in the morning, I pressed send. No music, just the click of a mouse in silence. In the morning, I made an appointment with a realtor, called in to work, took a vacation, took out a map, and began to mark the cities I had never been to. And in my head, only one thought. I no longer live on leftovers. I am starting the main course. The process of selling the house took less time than I thought. The realtor was attentive and polite. A wonderful area, he said. The country house, the infrastructure, a lake 2 stops away. They'll give you good money for it. I nodded silently. I didn't tell him how I had washed that floor at 2 in the morning when Arthur had first left home. I didn't tell him how I had slept on the kitchen floor because there was a fever in the nursery and I was afraid to leave. This house remembered everything. And I decided to forget. A week later there were 3 offers. 2 weeks later I chose one. Cash 15% above the market price. The buyers were a young couple with a child, just like we had once been with Arthur's father. Only for them perhaps things would turn out differently. $355,000. A sum I couldn't even have imagined before. But it didn't scare me because for the first time in my life, I had no plan for someone else. On the day of the deal, I went to the office. Papers, signatures, forms. I wasn't signing documents, I was signing my freedom. My own, not someone else's. After the deal, I walked out and passed by the house, no longer mine. On the porch, a little girl in a pink jacket was chasing a ball. Her mother was wiping her hands, standing at the entrance. I stood and watched. I didn't feel sorry for the curtains or the walls, or the tiles in the bathroom that I had laid myself. I didn't feel sorry because they were no longer mine. Just like everything I had once held on to for Arthur's sake. The phone, the one with the new number, was silent. 2 weeks passed. No letters, no calls, no attempts. And I had already thought that everything was quiet. But one evening, a knock at the door. In the peephole, Laura. Perfect as always. A coat that fit her perfectly, thin earrings, delicate makeup. I opened it. Good evening, Catherine. May I? We need to talk. We? No. You maybe. She came in, looked around, not with disdain but not with warmth either. I'll make some coffee, I said. Only instant. It's simple here. She sat at the table, holding herself as if she were in a negotiation room. I didn't know how dependent Arthur was on you. He didn't know himself. He was used to everything being there on its own. There's money, there's a mother. If he needs it, she'll give it. If not, she won't interfere. I thought he had his own savings. He said. He said he had parents. In reality, only me. A pause. Silence. I didn't help her speak. Let her go on her own if she came. It's hard for us now. We've moved out of the apartment, we're living with my parents. I'm working on 2 projects. He's stressed. And what does that have to do with me? You're his mother. Not anymore. Laura looked at me attentively, as if looking for a crack. And if he apologizes? No. And if he really means it? It's too late. Then what do you want? I stood up, put the mug in the sink. Nothing. That's the main thing. I don't want anything more from him. No words, no gratitude, no attempts. I'm not offended. I'm free. She tensed, her lips pressed together. Then she stood up abruptly. You're taking revenge because your life didn't work out. No. I just stopped giving it to others. After she left, I finished packing my bags. 2 suitcases, 1 backpack, a couple of books, documents. The rest I sold, gave away, or threw away. The next morning I left for a city where no one knew me, where they didn't call me Arthur's mother, where I could be just Catherine. A woman, a person. I rented an apartment by the river, a small kitchen, a window looking out onto the pines. I found a job in a bookstore, a sales assistant for days a week. No stress, no office uniform. The owner, a woman of a certain age, said, "You have a calm gaze. We like that. Books are not sold with a voice, they are sold with the eyes." I stayed. And for the first time in decades, I realized that life hadn't ended. It had begun. A little over a month passed. I settled into a rhythm. In the morning, coffee on the windowsill. During the day, books, conversations with rare customers. In the evening, walks along the embankment, where it smelled of dampness and spring. My phone was still silent. And this silence became not an anxiety for me, but a comfort. It meant I wasn't needed. It meant I was left alone. It meant life was going on without me. And that, it turns out, is also freedom. But one day the owner approached me at the counter, a piece of paper in her hand. Someone called, left a number. Said he was your son. I looked at the numbers, then at her. "Thank you. You don't want to call him back?" "No." In the evening I threw the paper away. Calmly, without a tremor, without expectations. But 3 days later he came himself. I was just putting new books in the window, looked up and saw him at the entrance. "Arthur." "My son." So different. Thin, a lost look, wrinkled clothes, overgrown hair, chapped lips. He didn't look bad. He looked lost. He stood like a boy who had come to pick up his mother from work. I didn't rush over, didn't call out, didn't smile. I just approached. "Hello, Arthur." "Mom." He said the word so quietly, as if he were afraid it would burn him. I was looking for you." "Why?" He lowered his eyes. A pause. "Can we talk?" "Somewhere not here." "After work." "You have 1 hour." "In a cafe nearby." He ordered 2 coffees, mine with foam as I used to like it. I didn't touch it. "You look good," he said. "Really good." "I feel good too. I want to apologize. For everything." I was silent. He continued. "For the wedding, for kicking you out, for using you all these years. I was blind. I realized everything when the money ran out." He flinched. "No, well, not only. It's just, I miss you. I understand what I'm losing. You were always there." "Exactly. I was always there. Even when you didn't notice me. I want to fix everything. To build a relationship anew. Maybe start with lunch, a walk. I'm ready. You're ready because you're in a bad place. And I'm not an ambulance." He fell silent, looked into his mug. "I know I acted terribly. I understand that I caused you pain. But I'm still your son." "No. You are my biological son. But in essence, no. For many years you saw me as a function. A mother. Like a light bulb. It's on good. It's burned out, throw it away." He began to cry, quietly, restrainedly. The tears streamed down his cheeks, and I looked at him and felt nothing. No pity, no anger, no desire to comfort him. "Tell me what to do. Tell me how to get it all back." "You can't." "But you're my mother." "I am no longer a mother. Arthur, I am a woman who has lived for 30 years, denying herself everything, just so that you could move forward. And now I want to move forward myself." He sobbed. "I miss you." "No, Arthur. You miss the convenience. You miss the way things were. You miss the person who pulled you along. But not me. Because you never saw me. I'll change. I'll become different. And I don't need it anymore. I don't hold a grudge. I just no longer wait. For calls, for words, for apologies. I am at peace." I stood up. "Thank you for coming. But the conversation is over." I wasn't offended. I had let go. He remained sitting. I walked towards the river, slowly, calmly. And at that moment I realized, finally, I am living not as a mother, not as a helper, not as a shadow. I am living as a woman who has stopped being someone else's and has become herself. Spring came to the new city slowly. First, in the drops dripping from the windowsill, then in the soft sun on the old cobblestones, and then in the way the children started to chase a ball on the embankment again. Every morning I would brew myself tea, take out a notebook and write. Today is a day without hurry, without the need to be needed. The workshop lived its own life. People came for notebooks, gave me chocolate, brought old books. I became the local woman from the shop who is always silent, but for some reason she makes you feel warm. One day in May, the owner handed me an envelope. Mail. In your name. No return address, but a child's handwriting. I looked at the inscription, crooked with a few mistakes but neat. Grandma Catherine. Inside was a letter on plain notebook paper. Hello, my name is Ava. I'm 6 years old. Dad said you used to make beautiful notebooks. And Mom says you are very beautiful. I love to draw. Can I have a notebook? I'll draw something for you too. I really want to meet you. Ava, daughter of Arthur and Laura. I reread these lines, holding the sheet with both hands. There was no reproach, no hint, no manipulation. Only a child's. Can I be near you? The next day I made her a notebook. A light cover with a heart cut out of fabric. Inside, thick paper, pages with quotes about summer and kindness. I wrapped it in craft paper, attached a note. Draw whatever you want. The world becomes a kinder place when your drawings appear. See. I sent it to the address indicated in the letter. Without extra words, without expecting an answer. A week later, an envelope arrived. Inside was a drawing. A girl and a woman are standing against a background of mountains, holding a notebook. The caption, "This is us someday." I hung the drawing in my workshop and next to it I wrote, "Sometimes it's enough for someone to just want to draw you nearby." I didn't call Arthur, I didn't write to Laura. I didn't ask if he knew that Ava had sent a letter. It was their home, their life, their story. And I had my own. Without resentment, without past roles. Only with respect for myself. And one morning, standing by the open window with a cup of tea, I caught myself thinking, I am finally living in a world where nothing asks me to disappear for someone else's sake. And in this is all the happiness. Quiet, warm, real. Summer came imperceptibly. First, with the smell of heated pines on the path, then with open windows with curtains swaying in the breeze, and then with the fact that I stopped counting the days. I no longer waited for letters, I didn't check my phone. I didn't see if anyone had messaged me. Ava sent another drawing. A grandmother with a pie, and next to her, a cat with a crown. "This is us," she had written. "When I come, I want to bake too." I didn't know if she would come. I didn't know if they would let her. I didn't know if she would want to. But for the first time in many years, I was not afraid of not knowing. Because now I had enough inner peace not to try to control every step. The workshop became a quiet place for people tired of talking. Mothers with children, teachers, lonely men with eyes in which silence had long since settled came. "It's like a tea house here," a woman who was buying her 5th notebook once said. Not a single extra phrase. Only what's important. I nodded. I just removed everything that was preventing me from breathing. Sometimes I would walk until late at night along the embankment, past the old wooden houses, past the gazebos where teenagers were playing the guitar. I would sit on a bench, take out a thermos, and silently watch the water. I didn't remember, I didn't fantasize. I just was. Once, a young woman was standing at the entrance to the shop, nervous, a drawing in her hands. She stammered. "My mother died. I found her diary. Your notebook was there. I just wanted someone to fix it." I took the notebook, old in a soft cover with notes about life, about dreams, about disappointments. I didn't say anything, just opened it, carefully cut off the cover, and began to rebind it. And when I gave it back, the girl hugged me. "Thank you." She was real in it. Only there. And then I understood. I'm not making notebooks. I'm just giving people the right to be with themselves, at least on paper. One day, Ava sent a voice message. "Grandma, I've come up with an idea. When I grow up, I'm going to make books like yours, only with drawings. We'll be in the shop together. Okay?" I pressed play twice. Not because I didn't understand, but because for a long time no one had spoken to me about a future together. I don't know if Arthur will come back. I don't know if he will ever ask how I'm doing. But I know one thing. If one day he looks into the shop, I'll say, everything has already been sorted out here. Everything that could be taken has been taken. All that's left is what I need. Autumn returned to the city imperceptibly. In the leaves, first a hint of yellow, then the smell of dampness, then a light click of the wind, as if someone invisible were carefully turning the pages of a calendar. I lived without rushing. I baked apple pies, removed the dry leaves from the windowsill, changed the notebooks in the window display. The covers now had warm shades, chestnut ribbons. The world became mine. Not someone else's, not obligated. Just my own. One morning I found a letter in my mailbox. A pink envelope. The handwriting was neater than last time. Inside was a handmade card. On it, a shop, at the door a woman in a green cape and a girl with a backpack. Grandma, I'm coming for the holidays. Mom says it's okay if you're not against it. Dad isn't saying anything. But I'm coming anyway because I really want to. And I'm 8 now. I can bake and read and keep secrets. I love you, Ava. I didn't cry, I didn't smile. I just sat by the window with this letter and thought, this is it. It has come. Not as retribution, not as forgiveness, but as something new. I took the notebook, the one I had left for myself but had never filled. I opened the first page and wrote, if someone ever asks how a second life begins, I will answer. From the moment you are not afraid to open a letter for the first time. And there is no pain but someone who just wants to be near. Without conditions, without demands. Just near. Ava arrived at the end of October. She was standing on the platform in a bright jacket, with a backpack, hugging Margaret, Laura's mother. Arthur was not with them. She ran up immediately. Grandma, hi. I was so afraid you would change your mind. I didn't change my mind. I brought you drawings and jam and new words. I learned the word infinity. That's you. I knelt down, hugged her. Not as a grandmother, not as a victim, but as a person who understood she was no longer alone. That evening we drank cocoa. She leafed through my old notebooks asking, and who wrote this? And why is there a teardrop here? And can I write too? I nodded. And at some point, watching her sit on the floor and draw, I thought, she will remember me not as the one who endured, but as the one who one day chose to live. Life didn't give me everything I wanted, but it gave me the main thing. My own name, my own place, and someone who asks for nothing but for me to be. And maybe that's enough. Thank you for being with me until the very end. If this story touched you, please give it a like and write in the comments the word justice and how you would have acted in her place. This will help to promote the video and give us the strength to create new stories. Thank you for listening. Be healthy, live long and truly.